The X-Men are back, and they're in another extra bit of controversy that was totally unnecessary. Marvel just seems to want them to be the source of so much division instead of unity. What are we talking about? Well, hang tight, folks. You might not believe what one comic is doing to the potentiality of the entire MCU. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We see you out there, unlike the MCU, and we see you because you matter. You are the gigawatts, and we are exceedingly blessed that you decided to click on this video and join us. John Trent also blesses us with his presence. John, welcome back to the channel.
Hello, good to be back.
And John, you, of course, are the editor-in-chief of thatparkplace.com. You also are the host of the Trent Report, and both places are grand places for people to go and find out what's going on in entertainment. And we'll begin our endeavor into doing so right now with this article out of thatparkplace.com by you, by the way. Fancy that. We have the author, and this is what it says. Marvel Comics makes a mockery of Christianity with Nightcrawler conducting gay ceremony between Mystique and Destiny. Now, we're going to talk about why this is an unnecessary controversy that Marvel has positioned itself into. Before we get into this, folks, I do want to say that we are not today going to dive into any kind of discussions about morality or theology. Those are very interesting conversations, and we would probably enjoy being a part of those. But for today, we're specifically going to aim into the market issues, so the economic issues of that, and we'll get there in just a moment. Marvel Comics continues its descent into debauchery and degeneracy with an upcoming story that will seemingly see Nightcrawler officiate a particular type of ceremony between Mystique and Destiny. And you can see the cover here of it, and you can see Nightcrawler there. Now, the choosing of Nightcrawler is what is so interesting about this, because it seems to be an intentional attack on a particular faith. That's what's interesting about this.
The foundation God has built in our hearts can never be destroyed.
We have been watching entertainment cover these sorts of unions and marriages and what have you for years and years. This is rather mundane, but it's who they choose to officiate that I think is intentionally divisive. As reported by Fandom Pulse, a solicitation for X-Men Wedding Special #1 features a cover by Jan Bazuldois. Am I saying that right, John?
It's probably Jan. I'm not sure, though.
Jan Bazuldois, that was his last name I was worried about. That sees Nightcrawler officiating a gay union between Destiny and Mystique. The official description for the $10 book states Mystique and Destiny are one of the most beloved and longest-running couples in history. Somewhere in their 100-plus years together, the pair married, but we've never seen the event on the page. This year, Marvel's Voices, Pride, makes history with Marvel's first woman-to-woman wedding. So breaking that glass ceiling again, you've got this image that has been mocked routinely around the web. Shall we say it stretches our understanding of biology, how this actually is working here, and not sure if the artist understands how babies are made. Go back to the stories. This is an image, though, that I think is so important, because this, John, is a picture of Nightcrawler's hands holding the Holy Bible and repeating the lines, "I am the resurrection and the life." And this is why I think this is a newsworthy story. We know, John, you and I know, that the makers of the comics, that they are very, very diminutive in their impact now because they've destroyed the comics industry. And you and I both know that they tend to push things in very far directions. What makes this interesting is the timing. We are about to have the X-Men come to the MCU. We also are about to watch the X-Men get the X-Men 97 treatment, and we've got our worries about that. At the same time that those things are happening, in the same year, they depict such a ceremony, and they do so with a character who is Catholic. And that goes in a way that is not taught within the Catholic Church. And so I'm betting, John, that your position on this is that this is a particular aspersion to the faith from this comic writer, and it puts Marvel into an unnecessary controversy. John, walk us through why choosing Nightcrawler is more controversial and perhaps more economically damaging than any other character they could have chosen.
Yeah, so obviously they chose Nightcrawler because he does have a history in the Marvel comics as being a Catholic. He was actually an ordained Catholic priest back in like the early 2000s. I think they eventually retconned that, but that image is kind of stuck in his mind. You can look at the X-Men 97 animated series, very popular, a scene where Nightcrawler actually hands the Bible to Wolverine, and later on Wolverine is in a church praying, and he's had this kind of like conversion moment. And Nightcrawler obviously assisted him in that. And so, obviously, what Marvel Comics is trying to do here is they're trying to use the authority that they've kind of given Nightcrawler through the Catholic Church to try and say that this ceremony has some kind of official sanctioning by the church, which indeed it does not, and is against the church's teachings.
John, is Nightcrawler the only X-Men that is associated with Christianity and Christology?
No, they have a lot of. I mean, obviously, we just talked about Wolverine, right? In the X-Men 97 animated series, where he's in a church praying on his knees. You can obviously Daredevil is a very prominent Catholic, and actually, I guess in the current run that's actually being written by Saladin Ahmed, he's become a Catholic priest as well, and he's actually fighting demons. And from what I understand, it's actually pretty well written. So they have a number of characters that do indeed embrace the Christian faith. Obviously, Captain America, we saw that in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the very first Avengers film. What does Captain America say to Black Widow? There's only one God, and that's not him. And then you can also look at the Punisher. He's also been depicted by Mike Baron as a practicing Catholic as well. Obviously, the actions that he takes are not in line with the Catholic Church either, but he does have that kind of like Catholic upbringing and that Catholic guilt, as what Mike Baron, one of the Punisher's writers, describes him as.
It's fair to say, though, that there are many X-Men in the roster of Marvel's possible characters who are not associated with Christianity. It's not in their backstory. It's not in their canon. That, you know, there are agnostic, there are atheistic, there are Muslim. There are all kinds of X-Men of various degrees of faith and all over the spectrum. The selection of Nightcrawler, though, because Nightcrawler is associated with being, what would you say, Christian in a very pure sense, right? He's not. It's not a character that's looking to alter the faith. It's a character who's participatory within the faith. It seems to me that whoever this person is that's doing the writing and the drawing and everybody involved with the project, they're attempting to make a doctrinal statement towards the church. And that's where I think this gets into that very dangerous territory economically, right? So you've already turned some people away by the fact that you're doing this. But I think from an economic standpoint, there's going to be a lot of parents out there who are of a particular faith persuasion who are going to say, you know, now that you're making this kind of a position from a character who's supposed to represent Christianity, I don't think our child needs to continue reading X-Men. And more importantly, John, and I really want to weigh in on this. Yeah, that's it. Because here's my question to you. Where is the person who's supposed to be the stopgap who looks and says, no, any other character than Nightcrawler? Where is that person who says, who's supposed to be protecting this IP and say, no, listen, we've got tens of billions of dollars riding on this. Like, we can have this fight. We can be part of the culture war some other time. We're not doing it right now. We got to stick the landing because everything's riding on people accepting the X-Men. We don't need this in the conservative news outlets. We don't need this out there in the faith websites. We don't need this right now. Where is that person?
That person has been replaced by the Walt Disney Company's Reimagine Tomorrow department and their DEI department. I mean, you can go back and just look at their Form 10K. They actually admit, they said here, further, consumers' perceptions of our position on matters of public interest, including our efforts to achieve certain of our environmental and social goals, often differ widely and present risks to our reputation and brands. So they know that stories like this do indeed present risks to their reputation and brands, but they're going to do it anyways because we know this. They have an agenda that they want to push. That's right here in their Form 10K. They have environmental and social goals that they are trying to achieve through their company.
Man, I don't get you. Here, I've marked a few passages you may find rewarding. Remember, Herr Logan, different eyes.
Right. And John, the other thing too I would say about this is, you know, they could choose any character that they want because they can have other characters who have other beliefs, who are doing these other things, And, you might not agree with it. Somebody else might not agree with it, but the character might agree with it. Having Nightcrawler, who is sort of this iconically Christian character, do this, I think that's where they overstep into an area that is making a theological statement, perhaps a propagandistic theological statement for a character, and it just runs this major financial risk of putting this property back into the headlines for all the wrong reasons. And let me say this to those out there who are going to support this, by the way, John, there's someone listening right now, probably many people who are saying, oh my gosh, you guys are just being too much right now. This is silly. This is nothing. This is not even on my radar. And, have your little religious discussions wherever. But what I would say, John, is that putting the opportunity to create a controversy such as this is the misstep. Because for those out there who wish to push this as part of their own belief systems, you would at least think that Disney and the people that they hire would be savvy enough to say, let's pick and choose our battles, and we're not going to choose a battle this year. Maybe next year we'll get into it. But they are so ideological that they don't seem to even recognize that. It's not enough for them to pick a character who's iconically Christian and then have that character do something which goes against the particular variety of Christianity that they espouse. It's also that they then choose to do it at a time when it's probably the most financially dangerous they could. And that really speaks to just how pure in their own way their beliefs are about this. They don't stop. They never stop. They never use their own version of prudence to say, when is this best to do? John, your final thoughts on it?
Yeah, so I mean, this is something that I've said a long time. I don't think a lot of these people are motivated by profit incentives, so that isn't something that they would really think about. That's not going into their thought processes. They are trying to push these social and environmental goals, as they say, even in their companies like super bland and boring Form 10K that they file with the SEC. We have multiple times where they constantly are engaging in these types of behaviors. I mean, who thought that it was going to be smart to go against the state of Florida down there trying to oppose a bill banning the teaching of gender identity and sexual orientation to children in kindergarten through third grade? Well, Bob Chapek even tried to say like he didn't want to do that, but a week later he's getting involved in it, right? So there really isn't anyone over there at the Walt Disney Company that I think can make any of those kind of decisions, because they are at the end of the day run by ideologues.
It's a great point, John. It amazes me that unlike other companies, there's not someone there who says, listen, we're Disney, so we're not a Christian company, apparently. We're not a Jewish company. We're not a Muslim company. We're not a Hindu company. We're a money-making company. And we're not going to touch some things because that separates us from the goal of making money. And it never seems to happen. And it also is not lost on me, John, that when it comes to these kinds of decisions of poking the economic bear, they only seem interested in doing this with Christians and Jews. They don't necessarily attempt to alter the doctrine or the beliefs of other religions and other characters who follow those religions. It is interesting to note and to watch them do so. All right, folks, it's time for you to weigh in on this topic. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. We'll take criticisms. We'll take critiques. We're happy to do so. We love opposing views. But if you agree, drop a comment down below as well, because we need an entire community's thoughts on this to help us think even better upon it. Also, like, share, subscribe. When you click it, you do stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. Drop a comment down below, as we said. And folks, don't forget that if you want even more spicy content that goes far beyond what we can do here, well, the Patreon for WDW Pro is available, and that's where you go for that sort of thing. www.patreon.com/WDW Pro. For more stuff from John Trent, check out the Trent Report, as well as www.thatparkplace.com for all the news that should be fun. Folks, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
I will give thanks to you, O Lord, for though you were angry with me, your anger turned away and you comforted me. I will trust and will not be afraid.
Clickbait, fraud, drama queen. Ugh. I wish there was a channel that was 5 to 6 minute news reads without the drama, frauds, and clickbait that could accurately let me know the current news, providing my crucial context utilizing all the different That Park Place contributors and creators.
Well, stupid.
Huh?
There is. It's the That Park Place YouTube channel, which will be going live real soon, so make sure you're subscribed, so you can really stick it to the algorithms.
You're joking.
Nope.
Oh my.
Wow.